Coming to you live from the JRE Tobacco Aladino Mobile Studios, it's the Cigar Pulpit.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another sermon from the Cigar Pulpit. I'm the Bishop of the Burn, Nick, and today it's all things PCA. So I am back from the Premium Cigar Association's trade show in New Orleans, and this is going to be the first of two episodes where we go over the trade show. Today, you are going to get my views, my opinions, my insights, my thoughts, my observations about the show. And then a week from today, next Friday, I will have Shawn and Danny on the show to get their thoughts, opinions, and everything on the show. Scheduling, just it's hard to pull three people together to do this, especially since, we just got back this week and everybody has to kind of like get back into their lives and whatever else. So it just kind of worked out this way that you're going to get two. But anyway, so before we get into all of that, let's go ahead and fire up a cigar. So today I will be smoking something I got at the show. Something new. I'm going to be smoking the Romeo y Julieta Reserva Real Profundo. It's a 6x54 Toro featuring a double fermented Nicaraguan Oscuro wrapper and Nicaraguan binder and filler. Now, this cigar was a collaboration between Rafael Nodal and AJ Fernandez. And this all Nicaraguan Puro is wrapped in a gorgeous extra fermented Oscuro leaf that sets the tone from the first light. Expect a rich, layered journey through dark chocolate, espresso, roasted earth, toasted nuts, and a whisper of black pepper. So yeah, so I got this going on. The way it was explained to me, and is that it's kind of the third part of the trilogy that they've been kind of doing with Romeo. You have the Red Band Reserva Real, the original. Then you have the Blue Band Reserva Real Nicaragua, which I've talked about on here many, many times. And then now we have the Profundo, which is kind of the third part of this. So yeah, I'm excited. So it's time to cut the cigar. And the official cutting is brought to you by 2guyscigars.com. That's the number 2guyscigars.com. Two Guys have been around for over 40 years, and they are the trusted name in the cigar industry. Everybody knows Two Guys, but if you don't, please give them a try. You won't be sorry. Family-owned and operated 2guyscigars.com does the very best to provide a great selection, fair prices, and excellent customer service. So head on over to 2guyscigars.com for your next cigar purchase. Tell them that the Cigar Pulpit sent you. And remember, that's the number 2guyscigars.com. And with that, it's time to go ahead and cut the cigar. I saw Dave at the trade show. He was a busy man running around and scoping out the booths. And, he was asking us what we saw and what we thought looked cool. And I asked him the same. And, we'll get into that in a bit. But, yeah, it was interesting. It was interesting, but not necessarily for the reason that, you might hope. It's not that it's like, oh my God, we saw some really cool stuff. We did see some cool stuff. But we'll get to all that in a little bit. So, let's real quick do the cold draw on the, Slightly earthy, slightly leathery, maybe. Maybe it's a mix, maybe I'm getting them confused. And I'm getting like a pie filling cherry note, but not like an overly sweet pie filling cherry, like almost like a tart cherry kind of component to it. It's nice. I like it so far. So, okay. All right. Well, we're going to fire this guy up. And while I light my cigar, you guys are going to hear the greatest commercial you've ever heard.
Some say cigars are all the same. It's just not true. It's you I have to blame.
Well, I don't know, 'cause what I know, there is a cigar called Aladino.
Corojo. Aladino Corojo. Aladino Corojo. They say authentic, so we're not confused, while the others say it's a word that's just abused.
I guess that's so. They can't compete. At least I'm sure Aladino can't be beat.
Corojo. Aladino Corojo. Aladino Corojo. Aladino Cigars uses authentic Corojo tobacco from JRE Tobacco. This is the greatest commercial you ever heard.
Yeah. All righty. And so now that we are all lit up and going, let's dive into all things PCA. Sorry, I'm making notes for myself here. I don't know why I didn't do that before, but I didn't. So, okay. So yeah, all things PCA. Let's bring up my PCA notes. So, the trade show was Friday through Monday. Right off the bat, I'm going to get this point, this little grievance, this little opinion of mine. I'm going to get it aired out right now, up front, in case anyone from PCA is listening. I just want you to hear this at the very, very beginning, and then we can get into all the rest of it. You guys have got to figure out a way to work with the convention centers to get this damn show shifted from Friday to Monday to Thursday to Sunday. It makes no sense whatsoever to carry this into a second week. It's actually very bothersome to carry it into a second week. It's not just me saying that. Pull your retailers and ask your retailers, ask your manufacturers that are setting up booths. Ask them, do they really want to commit a portion of 2 different weeks to this show? Or would they rather get this whole show in 1 week? Because typically, for most people, weeks go Monday to Sunday. Or, whatever. Monday starts the new week. So, by you guys extending this into this last day, first of all, everyone you talked to on Monday thought it felt like Sunday. Everyone was calling it Sunday. It wasn't Sunday. It was Monday. Did you notice the complete lack of crowd on Monday? Maybe it's because everybody went home on Sunday because they had to get back to their shops and get going with the new week. Or they're closed on Monday and they wanted to travel to where, they weren't like stressed out on Tuesday when they had to travel and then also, open up the shop. I'm just saying, guys, logically, it makes perfect sense to go Thursday to Monday. It just does. So please, I realize that the dates are committed for Vegas next year already. I'm sure the dates are locked in for Vegas in 2028, and I'm sure the dates are locked in for November or New Orleans in 2029. But you guys, start thinking ahead. Please, please, please don't do this Friday to Monday stuff. Move it Thursday to Sunday. It just makes logical sense. And I'm telling you, it's not just me that thinks that. Pull your people, and I'm telling you, you're going to find everybody would love to be able to just go home Sunday night and call it a day. It would be better. Anyway, so with that all said, Thursday, I traveled. So originally, I was going to take a late flight from St. Louis, 5:30 p.m., and I was going to connect through Orlando and arrive in New Orleans at midnight, or around midnight. Thankfully, I thought better of that, and switch my flight. However, I had to switch it to me leaving St. Louis instead of 5:30 p.m., 5:40 a.m., connecting through Chicago and getting to New Orleans, which put me there a little after 10 a.m., which worked. It worked very well. I just was on next to no sleep. I was on like 90 minutes of sleep because I was up all night working on creating print editions of the Cigar Chronicle newsletter because I wanted to show those off. I wanted to get lounges signed up to receive copies, print copies, and I wanted to see if I could sell some advertising in the Chronicle. I made print copies. Now, I didn't do these at my printer. I did them at home because, I ran out of time and whatever. It's neither here nor there. And so I'm doing them, and I'm out here. I'm smoking my cigar. I'm stapling, putting these together. I'm 88 out of 100 done when I realize I have a typo in the main headline. And after much swearing, I went back inside and proceeded to start printing them out again and redoing it. And so I got to bed very, very late. And I get to bed very, very late. And ended up getting 90 minutes of sleep. And so I was tired. I was fairly tired Thursday when I got there. But Danny picked me up at the airport. He and his lovely wife and daughter, who is afraid of men with beards. So when we popped the trunk of the SUV so I could put my bags in the trunk, her car seat was facing backwards and she immediately screamed. So that was fun. But anyway, we drove to the hotel and we got to the hotel and thankfully we were able to check in early. So I was able to settle in, throw the bags down, get my stuff, came down to the fire pit. Shawn and his lovely wife, Marlene, were already there. And, so we were able to sit out, have a cigar, chill out a little bit. I think that's when we went to the taqueria. I think, maybe. I'm pretty sure. Shawn and Marlene and I went down to the little taco place up the way and had Linner. I'll call it Linner because it was fairly early, if I recall, but it wasn't. But it wasn't like dinner time. It was, it was kind of an in-between. But I will say, this place is great. It's called La Lucha. New word, Lucha. La Lucha. And they have like a variety of different street tacos and various things. Quesadillas. Super good. I love this place. We went there last year and we went there again this year. And it's really, really good food. So, by the way, before I get too far into this, I would love to thank the Millard Brinker Memorial Fund. Mike Brinker, his father, passed away earlier this year. And, I think it was earlier this year. Maybe it was late last year. I think it was earlier this year. Mike very graciously reached out to me on Wednesday and said that the Millard Brinker Memorial Fund wanted to sponsor Team Pulpit's meals in New Orleans. And so, I want to thank him for that. And so anytime you're hearing about food, we need to thank Millard Brinker for that and Mike for thinking of us. So, La Lucha, super good tacos. We had a good time there. We left there, came back to the hotel, and I had to crash. I took like a 2-hour nap, or I intended to take a 2-hour nap. It ended up being more like a 3-hour. It was like 2 hours, but then I kind of lounged for an hour. And anyway, went down to the fire pit that night and hung out. And I'll tell you what's awesome is we already started meeting people that night. We met, there's a crew of guys there from a company called AG Cigars. And you're sitting there going, who the hell are AG Cigars? And I'm telling you right now, watch. They're on the radar. They're on the edge of the radar. They're about to rocket towards the middle of the radar. You guys are going to hear about AG Cigars. They have really good cigars. They have they're out of they have a factory in Nicaragua, but they have ties to Cuba. So they have some very interesting products. They make the Michael Jordan double Lancero. So like he has his own, double Lancero size. Yeah, they make that for him. So this is legit. They've got some stuff coming out. They have a new Ray Lewis cigar. He did one with Rocky back in the day, but this one that they're doing with him, Ray Lewis has much more involvement in the process, and it's kind of like starting a whole line. And so the next one up is Jamie Foxx. Jamie Foxx is in this line working with Ray Lewis and then on a cigar. So I'm telling you, AG Cigars, you're going to hear about them, in the coming months. They were one of the little highlights of the show. And so anyway, we were hanging out with them. We had a couple guys from a company called Legends of Cigars based out of Dubai. So we were talking to them about their cigars. The guys from the Sips, Suds, and Smokes podcast were staying at our hotel as well. And we talked with them quite a bit. I mean, that's the thing. That first night kind of gelled to where you determined who was staying at your place and who was hanging out at the fire pit. There were the guys from Apostate Cigars, which super nice guys out of Utah, which, I mean, we talked about the cigar culture in Utah, which was super interesting to me. And that's where I met fucking Kenrick. So, shout out to fucking Kenrick here. And I did that to him the entire time at the show. He swears that he didn't hate me by the end of it. But the whole joke there is that when I was in high school, I worked at the movie theater, and there was the movie theater chain in the area that I worked for, and that we had a theater. It was the Kenrick 12 or 15 or whatever. But there were home office people based out of there. And at any time the home office would throw down an edict on the theater chain, it was, we'd get it. And if it was something annoying, we'd be like, fucking Kenrick, doing whatever. So when he told me his name was Kenrick, I kind of had to do it. And so then anytime I saw him at any point, I just yell, not yell, but loud enough he heard me. I'd be like, fucking Kenrick. And we had a good time. We had a good time with it. I did anyway. I hope he did too. Good guys. And I want to get Apostate Cigars a shout out as well. So they make very good product. They're distributed by Black Label Trading Company. So yeah, very, very cool. So anyway, so that was kind of Thursday. Thursday was real chill. Just kind of hung out. I will say the one and only thing about my hotel, two things. The first thing about my hotel, the water I forgot that the water pressure in the shower sucks. Any one of you could have come into my room and spit on me, and it would have been a harder water pressure than that shower. But that kind of sucks. Yeah, the other thing about my hotel that we didn't have last year, but we did have this year, were rats in the courtyard area. They were running around doing their little rat thing. They never came near us at the fire pit. They kept their distance. They did their thing. Look, it's the middle of the city in the warehouse district. You're going to have things, but I don't remember rats last year. And there were definitely, so that hotel definitely needs to get a couple of cats to hang out in that courtyard. I think that would go a long way. I'm looking at my notes here. I took notes throughout this week because I wanted to make sure that I didn't forget things. So to that point, I want to give a shout out to the guys at Bigfoot Cigar Company in Jefferson, Texas. Apparently they listen to us, and I I just want to give a shout out to Bigfoot Cigar Company in Jefferson, Texas. Anyway, so moving on, Friday was the first day of the show. Now, Friday was the education day, a lot of seminars. It kind of culminated with the little fireside chat with Guy Fieri and Marlon Wayans. Last year, Guy Fieri was there last year. And last year, I don't know if you guys remember, when I was on with Shawn and Paul, we talked about how I really wasn't thrilled about seeing Guy Fieri. It was kind of like, Mayor of Flavortown, what do I care? And he did the talk with Cigar Aficionado, talking about his cigar journey, and I thought it actually was really interesting, and he was very human and very cool, and so I appreciated spending the time to listen to it. This year, not so much. This year, he was up there. It was a giant, shortened, abridged version of what he said last year, but with more of the Mayor of Flavortown kind of douchiness in there. And then Marlon Wayans got up there, and you're thinking, Marlon Wayans, I don't mean to be rude, but he was not engaging. The whole thing was not engaging. And if there's one criticism I have for PCA about Friday was not engaging. The seminars this year were not nearly as interesting as they were last year. It just, all in all, Friday was just kind of there. It was just something to be done. You got some samples of cigars because each one of the seminars was sponsored by a different company. That's cool. Although it really kind of sucked when Marlon Wayne's cigar was supposed to be passed out, and I guess whoever was in charge of that got lazy and just handed boxes to the tables and told them to take one and pass it back. Well, they didn't freaking do it, guys. They took the boxes and they took them for themselves. And so 4 tables got cigars, and all the rest of us watched as those 4 tables got cigars, and none of us got the samples of the Marlon Wayne cigars. So that kind of blows. But such is life. It's like, what do I whatever. The party in the park, we got done in the convention center. We transitioned over to the party in the park. That was sponsored by a couple different companies. There was Espinosa out there, Dunbarton Tobacco and Trust, Zycar, and there was somebody else that I'm forgetting. Do I have the thing here? Maybe I do. Espinosa, Dunbarton, Zycar, E.H. Taylor, and CAO. I forgot those 2. It was cool. It's the same park that we did the party last year. It's kind of across the street from the convention center. They had the food out there again. I'll be honest. I went around, I trick-or-treated and got my stuff, and I bailed. I went back to the hotel. Everybody else stayed behind and kind of ate some food. I wasn't particularly hungry at that moment, and also, there was nowhere to sit. If there's one, and again, I'm going to offer up constructive criticism. I'm not picking on anything. Not the only thing I might be picking on would be the dates. The whole I want it Thursday to Sunday instead of Friday to Monday. Otherwise, I'm not picking on anything. This is all purely constructive criticism consider this my attendee survey, giving you my thoughts. You guys need more seating at that party at the park thing. Cause you have some tables, but then inevitably what happens is one person gets there and holds the whole table and, claims it for their crew. Well, there's not enough tables, first of all. And then then when you have that going on, it's not feasible. Now, granted, you're never going to be able to fit enough chairs in there for everybody. So there's always going to be some people standing, but there's a lot of room you guys are letting just be open standing space instead of having seats. And what it resulted in is, like I said, I got my stuff and I left. And when I left and went back to the hotel, I didn't come back out. I am not one to do the evening parties. PCA had a nice schedule of evening events and parties. I did not attend any of those. Danny, He did end up going to the second party, the one after the party at the park. That's where there were some awards and various other things given out. But like it was that I didn't do any of that. I was done. I went back to the hotel and I chilled at the fireplace. It was nice. I saw Rick Rodriguez from West Tampa Tobacco that first day. He and I had a really good conversation and kind of caught up. Saw the guys from Black Stogies, and I'll get into more of that on when I talk about Saturday. But yeah, realistically, the highlight or the main part of the day were the seminars. And if I got to give my constructive criticism there, the seminars were kind of dull. And I feel like the retailers that are attending, if they're taking time out of their day to come to the trade show and participate in that day, again, I'm being critical here, but retailers deserve to get better education than what they got. And they need to get better education and better training. And I feel like that area needs improvement. It felt like a day where they kind of like had to do something, so they threw some things together. It wasn't the most compelling stuff at all. There was one that sounded like it would be really interesting, talking about hospitality, and it was all general platitudes like, blah, 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 blah. And it's all the same shit everybody should know and has heard before. And then there were some ideas, but like realistically, like the ideas that were given, like there was one idea about going and setting up and selling boxes of cigars at like your local golf club to like the golf members. Okay, that's all fine and good if you live in a state that has like loose licensing and whatnot. But like in Illinois, the last I looked into it, admittedly a number of years back, in order to sell, you have to sell cigars, you have to have a license. You have to have your license to sell cigars at a specific location. So if, let's say, I wanted to go out and get like vending machines and put vending machines at all of the golf courses, well, I'd have to have a license for each location that the vending machines are at. It's also feasible that the golf course itself would have to have some sort of tobacco sales license, or at least depending on the state that you're in. So the idea that you could just make an arrangement with a golf club and just go over and sell boxes of cigars and, blah, 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 and that'll help you out with marketing your shop and also selling some product. That all sounds nice, but like the reality of that is very, very different. And I realize you can't cater your seminar to 50 different states worth of laws, but find ideas that are more feasible or at least more easily controlled than that. Like there's so many things that lounge owners and shop owners can do in store. Why are you telling them to leave the shop? So anyway, that's neither here nor there. That's, again, me being picky. I just thought that Friday last year was significantly better and more interesting than Friday this year. That's all. So that leads us to Saturday. Saturday was the first day of the actual trade show. So the show floor is open. Booths are open and available. People are doing commerce. People are doing business. And my, excuse me, I polled people. And I asked them specifically, what do you think about this year? Does it feel slower or the same or busier than last year? And what I found was that it was very interesting, and perspective was definitely all in the eye of the person I was asking, in that probably about half of the people that I talked to said that it was slower than last year. And that was my perception. My perception was it was smaller than last year in terms of crowd. Booth size, definitely. I will say this, companies definitely either did the same or scaled back. Nobody went just crazy with their booths. In fact, a lot of people scaled back. But in terms of crowd, it seems slower to me this year than last year. But other people said busier. Other people said it was busier. Now, I think that what it really did come down to, and I figured this out over talking to people, I think the way it came down is that I do think crowd size was down. But I think that the people that came were there to buy. Now, where that comes into play is if you were one of the lucky companies that they were there to buy from, it was a good show. If you were not, the crowd size seems smaller and it seems slower because there were, I feel, if attendance numbers were public, I'm telling you, crowd size was smaller this year than last year. And given the fact that crowd size was smaller, if you were a company that was not getting many orders, you saw less people and you had less business. So of course you're going to say it's a slower show. To that point, a little bit of gossip. A very large, well-known company, not one that I'm going to name. I have no desire to get to put out names of companies, but I'm going to share some gossip with you. A very large, very well-known company, on Saturday did 11 orders. So some people had a really good show and some people had a really bad show. And, so there's one company that will remain nameless, but did only 11 orders on Saturday. So that's not great for them. Not a good start to the weekend. Now I want to talk a little bit about my shoes. So last year, I was heavier, last year for the show. I'm still obviously not a small guy, but we're working on that. But last year, between my knee and my ankles, I was kind of fucked. The walking was problematic. This year was a lot better. Still room for improvement. The first couple days, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, I was fine. I was fine Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Not winded. I was able to make it. The walks felt shorter than last year. It was good. It was good. I had gotten myself a brand new pair of Hokas on Monday because I did the research and found that if you have really flat feet and bad ankles and get tendonitis and things like that, the Hoka Bondi 9 apparently is a really good shoe for you. And I got them, and man, it's like walking on a big platform and a cushion, and it was nice. It was good. But not even the best shoes can hold up over consistent day after day after day of concrete convention center floor. And so by end of day Saturday, I started feeling a fairly familiar pain in the top of my left foot, where my foot kind of meets the ankle. And I'm thinking, this isn't good. So Sunday when I woke up, yes, the tendonitis in my left foot had kicked in. And I was kind of gimping a little bit on Sunday. It was not ideal, but it's okay. I made it, at no point this weekend did I have anywhere near the issues that I had last year. So it was a success in that regard. Like I said, still room for improvement, but that comes with time and various other things. But I'm telling you, it was better. But Sunday, I took things a little slower. Now, Sunday is when we did the bulk of the recording. Now, that's the other thing I want to talk about this episode. So in prior episodes about trade shows like this, I always intersperse a bunch of interviews and things like that. I think I'm going to skip that. In fact, I know I'm going to skip that. I'm going to skip that with this episode. I recorded all that stuff. And what I'm going to do is put them all up individually on the Pulpit YouTube and Rumble and probably TikTok account as well. So if you're interested in looking at it, you can go and watch them. I've heard from some listeners that, you like that, but then I've also heard from other listeners that it's like, oh, it's commercial after commercial after commercial of what's new. And I can understand that too. And so I think I'm going, rather than make this a 4-hour long episode with a whole shit ton of interviews, I think I'm going to just, drop the interviews on the various platforms, and you guys can watch them at your leisure. You can watch the ones you're interested in, and you can skip the ones you're not. And so here you'll just get my thoughts, and then next Friday you'll get Shawn and Danny, and we'll call it at that. I just think I think that's going to be the easiest way for me to do this. So Sunday though is when the day we went around and we did a lot of that work. And it worked, and it was nice. It was really good catching up to people. We saw some really wonderful folks. It's just so nice catching up. Like I said, I mentioned Rick Rodriguez earlier, but I caught up with, he and his daughter Sarah there at the West Tampa booth, and they're the nicest people. Caught up with, caught up with Lito Gomez Jr. over at the La Flor Dominicana booth. He's a good guy. I really like him a lot too. Just all kinds of nice people. They were all kinds of nice people that we met. Dan Thompson over at McAuliffe. We had a nice, good conversation and chat. Obviously the folks at Aladino, they came out with, which by the way, I'm smoking the Reserva, but it was one of those things where if I had a second cigar on deck in case I need it, and I have my Gorbusto all prepped and ready here. This is the Gorbusto Orang. So they have the three characters. They have Orang, who's an orangutan, and he's the artsy one. And they have Chimp, and Chimp is a chimpanzee, obviously, and he's kind of the buttoned up kind of nerdy business guy, and that kind of thing. And then there's Gory, and he is a gorilla, and that's the Maduro cigar. But they have the Gorbustos, and man, I'll tell you what, Aladino was a busy booth. They were constantly dealing with people there. So the Gorbustos were definitely one of the highlights of the show in terms of new product. But yeah, so we just kind of wandered the booths and, whatever. There were, on Sunday, there were less people, I feel like, than even Saturday, but maybe I'm incorrect about that. But I will say by 4 p.m., you could go to any booth and people are just hanging out and chilling out, which tells me a lot of people, a lot of retailers probably had Sunday night flights out of town, and they were bugging out. By 4 o'clock, that trade show significantly had less traffic. So Saturday was a busy day in terms of, the crowd that did attend. And then Sunday up to about 4 o'clock, it was busy. But by 4 o'clock, you could walk up to any booth and somebody was available to talk. So it, again, goes back to my point. Shift the freaking dates. Because the show ends at 4 p.m. on the last day. Well, if by 4 p.m. on Sunday, everybody's able to chill out and have a conversation, that tells you maybe Sunday at 4 p.m. is when the damn show should end. Anyway, I'm rambling again. I did have a nice I don't want to make it sound like I'm picking on, because I do think PCA is interested in talking, because I had a very interesting conversation. Where... Wow. Okay, real quick, little note on the cigar. There's a lot of spice to that retrohale. That caught me off guard. Oh, it's still lingering too. It's very nice, but oh my gosh. Yeah, this is a Reserva Real that knows somebody. This is it's kind of a maroon, kind of dark reddish band. So don't get it confused with the other red band. This one knows somebody. This is good. I like this. Anyway, I'm sorry. So I had a nice conversation with a young lady that works for PCA. She was at the Cigar Oasis booth, and I guess the two ladies that own and operate Cigar Oasis were talking with her about the trade show and whatnot. And Shawn was over there, and somehow St. Louis came up. So Shawn said, "Oh, Nick over there lives in St. Louis." So I got called over, and next thing I know, I'm in a 45-minute long conversation with this young lady from PCA about St. Louis. We're talking all about everything. I told her, hey, I got an episode coming out on Tuesday that you got to listen to, which, yeah, I would suspect they did, but, it's not a lock, but but all things being equal, it's all under consideration. So 2030, it's not going to happen in St. Louis. It's just not definitely happening at this time. There's talks. So yeah, I thought that was fun. I thought that was interesting. And you know what? I thought it was good that I was able to kind of like prop up my area a little bit. Cause like I said, a lot of people kind of dismiss my area for flyover country, but we got some good shit here. And, I will say, I think it would be nice. I think it would be better. I'll say this, New Orleans, I stayed in my little area. Little spot, didn't really go out of that area all that much. Hotel, convention center, restaurants in between. If it wasn't right there, I didn't do it. Some people did. Some people explored around. Good for them. French Quarter Festival was going on at the same time. So there was a lot of bullshit in the French Quarter. And, it just, I don't know. I think St. Louis would be a good location. That's me making a plug for them again. But anyway, going back to the show, we kind of wandered and saw some things. And one of the highlights of the show for me, this is probably one of the biggest things, was German engineering cigars, right? German engineered cigars, whatever. So everybody was talking about their new packaging, which I have right here. This is the cigar blister pack packaging. Now, this is only 2 of them. This is 2 cigars out of what was a 5-cigar sampler. They gave us 1 sampler. Shawn took 1 cigar, Danny took 2, and he gave me 2. So I have this. Now, and I have a video that I'm going to be putting up on the video platforms where the gentleman from German Engineering Cigars, or German Engineered Cigars, kind of does all this, but I'm going to do it here for you too. So it comes in a 5-pack, and it's perforated in between, the cigars here. See, you theoretically could tear those apart. However, they do not recommend that. They recommend getting scissors to clip it because they don't want inadvertent damage to the other cigar when you tear it open. But it's just like your pills. So it's got the foil there, and what they recommend is just kind of pop your fingertip in there and just kind of run it along the edge of the spot there. See? And, I did that. And then once you do that, you just kind of push, and then you can pull I'm trying to do this, pull the foil open, and voila, you have your cigar. They did say flat out that they are not sure how long cigars stay humidified in the blister pack because this is brand new and they're still testing. So, there's that. They don't have it's not like there's a way to put like a humidifier, like a Bovida or something in there with it, because that's just not feasible either. Now, that's fun, but quite frankly, I don't know if the blister pack's going to take off. You know, that's not really my interest. What is my interest is this band. Now you're looking at this and you're like, oh, it's just a band. It's a big cigar band, but it's a band. But wait, there's more. Take your phone, put it over the cigar. Maybe. And this little thing comes up. There's a tag. There's an NFC tag in there. And when you put your phone over that NFC tag, it brings up, yes, I'm of age. It brings up all of the information. Oh, shit. For the cigar. It brings up what the cigar is. It brings up all this information about the cigar. You can track your cigar and put in your information. You track your cigars. You can share your thoughts with them about the cigars. It tells you the other ones in their portfolio. But right here, you just scanned that cigar, right? So I scanned, I can't pronounce that. Whatever. It's a short Robusto 4x50 production month and year. This cigar was rolled in October of 2025. Serial number of production batch 0794-1050. So they know what production batch this specific cigar came from. They know down to the month and year and the production batch. So now you have all kinds of information there to be able to track the cigar that you're smoking. So theoretically, let's say you get one and you get it and it's plugged up. You can go in there, you can scan it, and you can send them a note saying this one was plugged up. Now they can track it back to the roller because they have the production batch right there, the month and day and everything. This is good. This is really good. The other thing that I think this could be very useful for is for countries like Canada, for example, or any others that have the plain packaging laws. Yeah, you have brown, ugly bands, plain bands on all your cigars. But if a company were to just add an NFC chip, which I'm going to take off the band on this guy so that hopefully I can do this. Please do this easily. Oh, crap. I don't know if this is going to happen easily or not. All right, I slid the band off at least. That way, hopefully, maybe we can do this. I'm trying to do this. I want to be able to show you guys the chip. It's in there, but the glue on this is pretty solid. Where's a knife? Sorry, this is riveting radio, I know. But trust me, this is cool. All right. So yeah, inside the band is the little chip right there. So it's just a very thin little NFC chip that when you put right over the name of the cigar, when you put your phone over it, it brings up all the information about the cigar. And I think for plain packaging laws, this is a great way for a company to kind of get around that in a way, because you can scan that cigar, and when you're standing there looking at those ugly brown bands, and then you can at least see, oh, here it is with the pretty band, and you can learn about the blend, and you can learn about, kind of the story and whatnot, and you can get information. I mean, there's all kinds of information that you can get by doing that. And it's, by the way, it's German engineered. I was saying engineering. It's German engineered cigars. But I think this is a really cool piece of technology. Now, whether or not they have the trademark, a patent or whatever on this, I don't know. If they don't, they're fools, and they need to solidify that so that then every company has to come to them to get this done for them. But I think this is a really cool addition that cigar companies can do for their bands. I don't know if right now, do we need it in the States? I don't know. But truthfully, it's cool. And it could make the work easier for tobacconists that maybe are short-staffed or looking for information. Think about that. Think about if you're a tobacconist and somebody asks you, hey, tell me about this cigar. All you got to do is hover your phone over it and it brings up all the information about that cigar. I mean, that's like a wonderful tool, not just for the consumer, but also for the retailer. But I'm telling you, I think with the plain packaging countries, this is definitely a way to get more information to the consumer when the government in those countries is trying to restrict and make it as generic and plain as possible. So I was super impressed with the Germans with this ban technology. Anyway, so that's what I saw at the show on Sunday. Now, Sunday, we did team dinner over at Flamingo A Go-Go, which is just up the road from our hotel. It was okay. That one I was a little less impressed with. We got some appetizers. There was a quesadilla that I had some of. Truthfully, that gave me really bad acid reflux overnight sleeping. There's a little something spicy to it that kind of came back to haunt me. The pineapple upside down cake that I had for dessert that day was really good. I haven't had that in a very long time, and that was tasty. Is it the best one I've ever had in my life? Maybe not, but it was super good. But yeah, so we had dinner that night. It was nice. And when we got back to the hotel, I was going to come down to the fire pit. It was admittedly a smidge chilly Sunday night, but because let's back up. Saturday night at one point it started raining, and that's when I crashed. And then Sunday, it was raining through the day, but by Sunday night it had stopped. But it was a little chilly. But I was still prepared to come down to the fire pit. But we had there was a high school girls volleyball tournament going on in town. We had a shit ton of fucking high school girls staying at our hotel that, I guess while I was upstairs changing, Shawn and Marlene went out there, and Marlene sent me a text saying like, there's no seats by the fire pit. Blah, blah, blah. I don't know how long we're going to stay out here. And I just decided that night, I'm like, you know what? No, I'm going to go to bed. I'm going to go to bed early. I'm going to get a really good night's sleep, because Monday I was able to sleep in, because Monday the show floor didn't open until 10 a.m. I had nothing going before 10 a.m. I could sleep in and still make it to the show at a decent time, and it was great. So I got to bed by like 9:30, Sunday night. And so I'm thinking, this is great. I'm going to get a good night's sleep and sleep in, get up, grab breakfast, go to the show for Monday. Well, 4:45 a.m. on Monday, my eyes shot open, and I'm sitting there laying there staring at the ceiling of my hotel room, and I'm awake, wide ass awake. So I kind of meander in my room for an hour and 15 minutes. I got down to breakfast at 6 when it opened. It was the first one. Oh, pardon me. First one in there. And basically I had my breakfast. I had my coffee. I don't know what the fuck that hotel did to the coffee on that Monday morning, but it was hotter than creation. I mean, like, they adjusted the temperature on those like coffee makers or something, or the carafes, because like, holy shit. I mean, yes, coffee's a hot drink, but like Monday morning, it was ridiculous. Like, even with the sleeve, it's like you're losing fingerprints. And it was ridiculous. So, but I had my coffee, and I just went out to the fire pit that morning and sat, and I had a cigar, before the show. And it was nice, because like I said, there were different people, that came to the fire pit that morning. There was a gentleman there from Smoke on the Water, in Weston, Florida, and he was good to talk to. I'm blanking on your name, sir. I'm sorry, and I apologize. But anyway, so we got ready. PCA did have a press conference scheduled for 9:30 in the morning. Shawn went to that because he wanted to go. All it was just a rah-rah recap of everything they said during their annual business meeting on Friday. So it really wasn't anything new or different. It was just more PCA's in a good shape, blah, 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 and all that. So I got there at a little after 10 with Marlene, and I'll tell you, like I said, the crowd was way smaller. I have in my notes here, PCA needs to be Sunday or Thursday through Sunday, not Friday through Monday. It was so dead, but it was nice from our perspective, because that was the day that we could go around, hit the booths, and get any audio, get any video, say bye to people, collected some more samples and everything that day. It was easier for us to interact and do that, but it was not a good day for business. Now, granted, that's not true for every booth. Some booths did very well that last day because they had some big meetings, I guess, scheduled. But yeah, by and large, Monday was not a great day. It was very small, so I do think they need to shift the dates. The fire pit that evening was very nice. I should say this: Danny left a little bit before 4. The show ended at 4, but he and his wife and daughter, they drove back home that night, and so Team Pulpit started breaking up on Monday. They drove back home, and so when the show ended, Shawn and Marlene and I, we went over to Gus's world famous fried chicken, which is right near our hotel, and Danny, I know you're listening to this, and I'm sorry to say this, but that was the best freaking meal I had the whole trip. And I'm sorry you missed it. It was a delightful, good meal. The chicken was wonderfully prepared. The wait staff was super nice and polite. The breading on the chicken, you didn't notice it at first, but by like the third bite or so, it had a little bit of back heat to it, so a little bit of spice. The coleslaw was really creamy and helped kind of cool that spice down. The baked beans were great. We got some corn nuggets. It was in my opinion, it was the best meal that I had the whole trip. Closely with the taqueria place close. We did go to Koshan Butcher for dinner. I think that was Saturday night. It was good. It was all right. It wasn't that wasn't quite my favorite. But Gus's was tops. When we're back there in 29, I am definitely going to make sure that that's a spot that I hit, because that was definitely the top food place for me. Anyway, but we went back to the fire pit that night, and it seemed like because that was like the last night, everybody was there and everybody was chill. Everybody was tired, so like the mood was kind of chill at the fire pit. But everybody kind of just talked it through, talked about what they saw, what they thought, this and that and whatever. We found out from some of the companies how things were. Guys from Apostate told us they were super busy, so I'm really happy for them. AG Cigars had some really good stuff going on for them. It was a good time. I really enjoyed the crew that we had around the fire pit this year. It was nice. Now, that's the recap of kind of how everything went. Let's now let me get into my broader thoughts. The question on everybody's mind is, what was the coolest thing you saw on the trade show or at the trade show? I was asked that many, many times over the course of that weekend. Everybody wanted to find what the it thing was. I showed you the band on the German cigar. That's pretty cool. I like that. I think that has to be in the top rankings of cool things that I saw there. Whether or not it like branches out and becomes anything, or if it's just a cool little gimmick for them, that's a different story. But I thought it was neat. I thought it was different. In terms of what seemed to be the it thing at the show, nothing particularly stood out as holy shit. That is like, that's it. Like I told you guys when I did the show with Shawn and Danny previewing PCA, I said it was kind of like porn. You know, you'll know, you can't say what it is, but you'll know it when you see it. Well, in this case, I was looking for that cool thing. I was looking to hear that cool promo, that cool program that a company was doing for retailers that would like, you know, make things really, you know, be a good partnership or something like that. I didn't hear it. I didn't encounter it. I didn't see it. It if it was there, it didn't come out. It didn't jump out and get me. And it also didn't jump out and get anybody else to where they told me about it. There was a lot of talk about the German engineered, you know, the NFC chips in the bands and the blister pack. You're gonna that's the sipping sodas. There was a company that had sipping sodas. That seems to have, you know, been popular as well. But that's kind of it. There were a few brands that I think got some juice this show, maybe because there wasn't other like really big name shit to kind of steal the thunder. But like Gorbusto was big for Aladino. There was the family legacy announced by Perdomo. But like, yeah, I mean, otherwise it was, you had a lot of companies doing like new Vitolas of old cigars. But it wasn't a show where you're going around and being like, oh my God, there's so many new things to try. It seemed very safe. And so because of that, it kind of got me thinking, okay, like, let's take a broader step back and look at the industry. Everybody seems to be playing it very safe right now. And if they're playing it safe, why are they playing it safe? Well, they're playing it safe because maybe the economy is not great and they know this is not the time to be going crazy and experimenting with a whole bunch of shit. Maybe this is the time to just keep it close to the vest and just kind of get through. I know with my newspaper, you know, I've been through ups and downs, and like, you know, when you're in the downtime, you just put your head down, you hunker down, and you get through it. And it felt like that's what's going on with the cigar industry right now, is that it's kind of everybody just kind of like doing a little bit just to be able to have something. But otherwise, they're just kind of putting their head down and hunkering down. That's not to say there wasn't some cool cigars to be noted. Again, the Gorbusto. There are some new cigars from Blackbird. I had Jonas on the show. I talked to him. You know, he has the one that he's doing in honor of his roller. If you want to hear more about that, I have a little short video that I did with Jonas. It's going to be on the YouTube and the Rumble and everywhere else. This Romeo and Juliet, the Profundo, I am digging the hell out of this thing. This one is, I think, better than the Blue Band Reserva Real Nicaragua. It's got more to it. It's obviously kicking off a ton of smoke. And it's a little less like pepper spice forward, but it's a strong cigar. This is not a weak cigar. This thing's got some strength to it. I'm really enjoying it. Like this it has an MSRP somewhere around $12, I think. Maybe just slightly under 11 something. But I'll say that assuming Total Wine isn't going to gouge me on this like they are with the Reserva Real Nicaragua Midnight Twist that they're getting $19 fucking for a Toro. Which, by the way, Total Wine, I inquired about that. Yeah, that's on you. I'll say if this thing is available for like 11 or $12, this is a big time buy for me. I'm really enjoying this cigar a lot. Anyway, yeah, I feel like everybody's playing it kind of safe. So you had, I'm sorry, I was listing off cigars that I thought were interesting that I did see. So there was the Corbusto, the Romeo, Juliet, Profundo, the McAuliffe, like, for lack of a better term, like affordable budget cigar. The one that the color series one that they're doing where it's the $5 bundle cigar with the clippings from all of the other ones. They're making a Cuban sandwich cigar. And guys, I smoked it. I smoked a Toro. In fact, the day that I smoked the Toro, that was the only cigar I had all day. That's another thing. I want it for the record. Some days were heavy smoking days. Other days, that was Sunday. Sunday, I had one cigar, and it was that McAuliffe budget cigar. And that thing was lights out. I will be buying that by the bundle. I'm telling you guys right now, at $5 a cigar, that's a steal. Look, flavor note wise, it's one note throughout. It doesn't vary. It is what it is, which makes sense when you think about it. But it's a nice flavor. It's not unpleasant. It's if you like the different McAuliffe color series cigars, you're gonna like this. Construction wise, my burn line was awesome, and the ash held very well for a Cuban sandwich, cigar, one with short filler in it. It held very well. In fact, McAuliffe is even doing a long ash competition because they're so confident in the construction of the cigar. They're doing a long ash competition with this Cuban sandwich cigar, and they're offering, I think, like a prize of like $1,000 for whoever comes up with the longest ash. It's impressive as hell, and I am here for it because they are keeping the color series cigars still in the nice $8 to $9 price point, but then now they have this one at $5. And let me tell you, for a $5 smoke, you are not going to find something better than this McAuliffe cigar for $5. You're going to be hard pressed to find something as good for $5. So I was very impressed with that cigar. LFD, they came out with they have fresh packs samplers, which I'm all in for any company putting out samplers. I think samplers are a wonderful thing, and I think that more companies need to be getting into that business. West Tampa and LFD both were promoting fresh pack samplers at the show, and I all in. I think that's a great way for people to try your line, figure out what they like, and everything else. And what's nice about the LFD one is that they are going the full range of their cigars in their packs. to where it's not, when you think of LFD, you tend to think of like strong cigars, but like they're not all the digger guys. They have some really, really good, more lighter cigars. And so they're giving you the full range in these fresh packs. They also came out with the carbon flower, which is in like a carbon fiber. It's a 5-pack in like a carbon fiber case. The case is super cool, very light, fits together very well. It's a good carrier for cigars. My only thing about that is the price point on that is, in my opinion, a little high. Maybe it's a little high for my taste. I don't know. But hey, here's the thing. It obviously wasn't too high because Lito Gomez Jr. told me that, they're sold out, and, they're going to retailers, and the only way you're going to get it is if you find a retailer that has them. So for what it's worth, retailers bid on it, and I think that's a good thing for them. Going back to West Tampa for a minute, they unveiled a couple of new cigars. They have the Chef Rick, which is the newest, cigar in their, food series. So they had the Boliche Boulevard, which was the first one. Then the Devil Crab, which I just did a drive time review on the Devil Crab. That's available on my YouTube, Rumble, and TikTok channels. Guys, if you have not had the Devil Crab, you are doing yourself a disservice. You have to get yourself a Devil Crab. I waited way too long, and I'm kicking myself because I could have been smoking that for nearly a year now, and I haven't, and it's super good. But they came out with the newest one called Chef Rick, and when I saw Rick outside of the convention center on Friday morning, and we had our nice conversation, he was kind enough to give me one, and so I'm very much looking forward to that. But then also at their booth, they were promoting another new cigar called Barbershop, which it's a really kind of dark Maduro box pressed cigar, and the whole point of this cigar was, back in the day before social media and everything like that, people hung out at the barbershop, and that's where you learned about what was going on. You told stories, and that was the social place, was the barbershop. And so Rick came out with the barbershop, and I have one of those inside as well that I look forward to trying too. And then again, AG Cigars, I really feel like you guys are going to hear about AG Cigars. They are they're definitely somebody that I feel like this trade show was good for them, and I feel like it's only going to get better. So for what it's worth, there's that. Zeno has the Zeno Honduras. It's instead of the Zeno Nicaragua, which is the yellow or orangish kind of band, there's the Zeno Honduras coming, and that's going to be red. I'm looking forward to trying that because I really dig the Zeno Nicaragua, and for the price point, I think that's a wonderful cigar. And I think the Zeno Honduras, if it can be as good, I think that's expand that, go with that. Why not? I think that's a good thing. Davidoff also came out with the Puro Dominicano, which I smoked that in my PCA preview episode that I did with Shawn and Danny. But spoilers, there is a drive time review coming with that at some point as well. What else did I see that, again, this Romeo, I'm digging the hell out of that. Shit. Yeah. I mean, that's kind of where we're at. That's the thing. I'm sitting here and I'm like, that's what stood out to me. Those cigars are what stood out to me as okay, that's the thing that those are the ones that I wanted and the ones that I'm looking forward to trying. I'm not saying that there weren't others. Oh, ATL put out a new cigar. The guys over at ATL, guys and gal, I'm sorry. And it's the La Carousel, which is it's honoring a jazz club. I think it was a jazz club in Atlanta where a lot of the civil rights movement kind of the leaders would meet there, and a lot of stuff regarding the civil rights movement took place there. Shawn smoked that. I have not smoked it yet. Shawn smoked it, and he said that it's initially very pepper forward, and it's strong. He got a ton of time out of it. He was walking around that show floor with that thing for like 2.5 hours. It was insane how much time he got out of that cigar. And I had thought that he'd actually moved on to a different cigar, and it was the same one. So for what it's worth, ATL has that cigar, and it's looking like it might be a winner for them. For anybody who didn't get that, that might be one to look into. And then Black Stogies, which Luke, my 635 millimeter, he's been yelling at me for the better part of a year that, I need to touch base with them. And so I have an interview scheduled with Eaton and Keith from Black Stogies coming up soon. They came out with the new, I think it was 1911 cigar. And I did a little video with them. They wanted to unveil the cigar through us. And so we were there when they set up their booth and popped the box, and it was available for the first time. And so they kind of launched the cigar on our YouTube and Rumble accounts. So if you haven't checked out the video that I did with them, that's available now. So no, it's fun. What else did we see that was like, oh my God, there were some brands that were aggressive with trying to bring people into their booth. I didn't necessarily. I'm not one to take to that. I like a little bit more of a softer approach. That I don't dig the aggressive approach, and so I'm not going to name those brands, but it didn't work on me. So yeah, that's kind of that. But I'm more going back to my greater point here. I'm after kind of taking a little time to reflect on the show. I have to admit I'm worried about quite frankly, a lot of the littler brands coming out of this show. Setting up at that show is not a cheap thing, and if they didn't get the sales there that they need to make it worth it, man, this was definitely not great for them. So I do worry about some of the brands, and with the economy being what it is, I think that you're going to see a number of smaller brands just quietly disappear this year. I don't think that's, obviously I don't want that, but I do think that it's an issue. But it's not just for them. Going back to some gossip, that I heard, and it came from some good sources. There's a very, very, very large company that made a couple of deals that truly only make sense if you look at it through the lens of that company being absolutely desperate and needing an infusion of cash to pay some bills and keep going. It's the only way that the the deals that I heard about make sense. And with that, how's that going to lead going forward? I don't know. Hopefully everything kind of comes together well, because it's going to be a big thing. Additionally, on the flip side of that, on the other side of the world, there was a smaller company, I'll call it a smaller company, that made some deals at this trade show that, quite frankly, have the potential to really cement their position and make them a much bigger and much more important player in the industry going forward. I actually think these deals that company made yeah, it's going to give them some financial, freedom in that regard. I think it's going to be huge. It's going to be really, really big for them. And, I think that's awesome. So for what it's worth, this was a good show for some people. Other people, this was not a great show. And I don't think we're going to hear anybody touting like, oh, record sales, blah, 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 and all that. This is not going to be the show that does that. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. So that's kind of my view of PCA 2026. I left for home early Tuesday morning. I got back and immediately had to start laying out my newspaper. So it was kind of one of those things where it's like no rest for the wicked. I get home, immediately start working on the newspaper, doing deliveries, this, that, and the other. And here I am talking to you guys. But I had fun. I want to thank Shawn and Marlene and Danny. And, it was very nice meeting Christy and Poppy. Even though, Danny's family kind of they went off and did their own thing, and that's fine. That's understandable. But it was very nice meeting them, and I had a good time. I'm kind of glad that it's behind me for right now, because it's kind of, as much fun as it is a lot of work. It's exhausting, and you don't get sleep like you should. You definitely don't drink enough water. I tried really, really hard to keep hydrated, but that show floor is just a dehydration zone between the air conditioning and then all that cigar smoke and everything like that. It's like it dries you out pretty badly. And like I said, the sleep situation, fuck. You get back to the hotel and you're sitting around that fire pit. Next thing you know, it's fucking 1:00 in the morning, and you've got to be getting up by like 7. And I never. The one night I thought I could catch up on sleep is the one night that I woke up at 4:45. So, it's what it is. But yeah, I let's put it this way. If it's in St. Louis in 2030, I'm going to be a happy man, because I can be here at my house in my own bed, and I will be able to relax and not have to bust my ass and everything like that. It's going to be a good time. But if it's not, it's not. But I really hope it is. Anyway, all right. Let's, what else do I have to do here? Where's my notes for my outline of this show? Because, all right, we talked that. Okay, now we'll do this. It's time for the Villiger Cigars Entertainment Report, brought to you by
Villiger.
Villiger Cigars, one of the leading cigar and cigarillo manufacturers in the world, founded in 1888 and still family-owned and operated. Head over to VilligerCigars.com and check the store locator to find a shop near you that carries them. We guarantee that Villiger Cigars will be a wonderful addition to your humidor and cigar rotation. Speaking of Villiger Cigars, I miss seeing the fine guys from Villiger at the show. Villiger did not have a booth this year. Boy, the tariffs really hit them, and it kind of played some hell with their budget. And so they've got some product coming out later in the year, and so I'm going to have Renee on a little later in the year to talk about the new stuff that they've got coming out when it's coming out. But for right now, since they weren't going to be at the show, and since they didn't really have anything for the show, they opted not to spend the money. And I completely understand. Like I said, the show is not a cheap option for anybody. It's not, guys, for some of these bigger companies with their booths, you could be looking at easily 6 figures to set up the booth, between the booth materials, the union guys, to set up the thing. Hell, just hanging the banner from the rafters which, they've got banners over some of the big booths so that you can find them easily. Doing that's $25,000. The trash can. There was a small plastic trash can at the AG Cigars booth, and they told me that they were getting charged $125 a day for that trash can. So there's what? $375, $500, depending on if it's 4 or 5 or 3 or 4 days that they had that set up. So, it's not a cheap proposition to put together a booth. So when a company opts to not have a booth at the trade show, for whatever reason, in this case, Villiger saying, hey, we've got stuff coming, but it's not ready yet. It's going to be later this year. I don't begrudge them at all. I think that's smart business on their part to, watch their finances and make the decision, at the time that they have it. Because what's the point in going there and showing, pictures of something? The retailers want samples. They want to get information. If they don't have the product, if it's not ready and they don't have the product, why are you spending $100,000 minimum to have this booth and not have anything to show? You know what I mean? So, yeah, I get it. But it's still sad because I did look forward to seeing them, but I'll catch up with them later. So, entertainment report. What have I been entertained by? Between the show, getting home from the show, working, and everything else, I haven't really watched shit. I caught up on my wrestling, and that was fun. Wednesday's edition of Dynamite. Dan Davidson from Two Guys and the Ashholes podcast. He and I had a really fun conversation about pro wrestling. It's fairly obvious we're on different sides of the spectrum in terms of the pro wrestling. I tend to prefer the All Elite Wrestling, AEW. He is very much a old school WWE guy, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. He was able to admit that, WWE is not doing great right now, which, that's a whole, and admittedly, I've tried. I've looked at their product. I've watched some of it. It's just not interesting to me. It's very corporate. Whereas, AEW, I tend to think it's a little bit more, it's corporate, but it has that kind of independent streak to it. And so I've been very entertained, and look, guys, I don't know what your opinion is on pro wrestling, and I don't really care. It's my entertainment. I'm going to watch whatever the hell I want to watch. But what I will say is, for anybody who's like, oh my God, pro wrestling, why are you, it's like for kids, blah, blah, blah. It's just entertainment. It's mindless entertainment. I can go on there and I can watch two guys having a feud about something and deciding that the way to answer or to resolve that is to have a fight. And I like that. It's fine. It's fun. It's entertaining. I don't need award-winning, intricate plot lines or anything like that. I'm perfectly fine with just simple stuff because, quite frankly, I just want something I can sit here, turn my brain off, fire up a cigar, and watch on TV. And there was a banger of a match on Wednesday between Darby Allin and Tommaso Ciampa for the AEW World Championship. I mean, easily one of the best matches I've seen all year. And it was free on TV. It wasn't even in a pay-per-view. And that's another thing I really love about AEW is they put out really good matches, and they do it not just in the pay-per-views, they also do it on TV. Whereas WWE, it's very obvious, they save all their matches for the pay-per-views, and they don't populate the TV with as much interesting stuff. Whatever. Be that as it may, it is what it is. So yeah, we had fun about that. Now, speaking of Dan and the Ashholes, we talked about that a little bit. And I will freely admit that as much as I listen to the Cigar Authority, I've attempted to listen to the Ashholes, and I just never got into it. The rotating cast for a while was hard because you could never really get into it because people were coming and going and leaving and this and that and whatever. And then sometimes the people that were on there just weren't good and just weren't entertaining and weren't interesting to listen to. So admittedly, it's been a while since I have given that show really any attention whatsoever. I've kind of just like, whatever. I'd heard that Ed was on it for a little while, and I like Ed. What? But when I watched it, it was obvious that Ed was, a side character and wasn't as prominent. And for me, at the time that Ed was on it, I was there for Ed. So it's like, well, if Ed is not the primary, whatever. Dave Garofalo jumped on, and he's been on it for a while. And I'd heard from some folks that it had gotten better since Dave jumped on. But I still was kind of like, you know what? I barely am keeping up with the podcast that I listen to now. Do I really need to add another? And so I didn't. And, whatever. Well, Dan and I were talking, and he made some comment about the Asheville's. And he's like, do you watch the Asheville's? And I'm like, dude, I will be freely honest with you. I really don't. And so we talked about it a little bit, and, he told me what's going on. And, so last night I'm sitting out here in the garage. I'm wrestling's over with, but I'm still smoking. And, I went ahead and I went to their YouTube channel and I brought up their PCA preview episode, and it's like 45 minutes. And I turned it on YouTube and I just kind of started watching. And I'll tell you what, I went ahead and subscribed because I'll give them a chance from here on out for a little while with that, because that episode was quite, it was entertaining. Dan and Dave and Kiltman and I think it's Aaron, I believe, that was kind of serving as the nameless face or the faceless producer role that Ed Sullivan plays on the Cigar Authority. They had good chemistry. What was kind of nice is that it was Dave, which you obviously know him from the Cigar Authority, but he was much more chill, and it was more conversational and a little bit less structured than the Cigar Authority. And I dug that. If there's one thing you can pick up from this episode or from this show, is that, man, I have a loose outline, but I'm all over the place, and I like it to be very free-flowing and conversational. So I actually kind of dug the way that episode flowed a little bit more, or a lot more actually, than the PCA preview that Dave did on the Cigar Authority, where he ran down all the cigars and everything else. I thought that, they were talking about like what it's like to work at a trade show, what it's like to go to the trade show, this and that and whatever, dealing with food, things like that. It was a different perspective on it than what you got on the Cigar Authority. You get, okay, this brand's coming out with this thing, this brand's coming out with this. You got more of the nitty gritty, and I thought it was really interesting. So for what it's worth, I enjoyed, and I watched and have subscribed to the Ashholes now. So they'll have me until they lose me. That was cynical. I'm sure they're fine. But anyway, so there was that. What else have I been entertained by lately? Otherwise, the only other thing I wanted to highlight and emphasize was the conversation around the fire pit at the hotel. It was nice. I sit in my garage and smoke alone a lot now. Gas prices being what they are, and my budget being what it is, and, looking at the amount of cigars I have in my humidor and saying, like, why am I going to a shop, to buy more stuff when I have so many here? I haven't really been hitting lounges for a while. And I'll say that it was nice to have, it was very nice to have social interaction with my cigars again. It was nice to have a group of guys that you walk up and you're like, hey, what's up? And everybody's, having a good time and, busting balls and telling jokes and telling stories. And I missed it. I liked it. And I'm going to have to find a way to incorporate that back into my life because I've pulled away from that too much, and I need to get back into that. So for what it's worth, that was very entertaining for me. Was doing the fire pit thing. Okay, man, I am digging this Romeo and Juliet Reserva Real Nicaragua Profundo. It's good. It's got such meaty flavor to it. It's I mean, you guys can see on the video, it's kicking out so much smoke. It's just the draw on it's amazing. The burn line on it is super tight. I mean, this cigar is just rocking my world right now. I am really enjoying. I'm glad I went with this one for this episode because this is the first cigar I've had today, and could quite possibly be the only cigar I have today. And it is just smoking amazingly. I am so glad that I not only have this one, but I have a second one in there that I can do a drive time review on because I really want to highlight this one. They have a winner here. This is a real winner. I like this more than the Blue Band Romeo and Juliet Nicaragua, and I've smoked the shit out of that cigar. So for what it's worth, this one just is lights out. It is technically a box press. It's kind of a square kind of box press, but I'll tell you, like if you look, it very much plumps out and becomes more of a round as you smoke it. I'm loving it. I'm absolutely loving this cigar. Yeah, they've got a buyer in me. This after one sample, this is a box buy. Like I'll say this, any retailer that went to the Altadis booth and didn't go in on this cigar for whatever reason, you're missing out. This was, after smoking this is one of the big ones for me from the show. I would say that this is one of the cigars from the show that every retailer should have gone in on. So I'm hoping they did. I mean, it's Altadis, it's a Romeo and Juliet. It kind of makes perfect sense. But I will say there's a lot of retailers that I've been to that didn't go in on the Blue Band Nicaragua. And it's like, guys, that was a freaking great cigar. It is a great cigar. So like for what it's worth, this one is even better. And so, yeah, if I were a retailer, I'd go in on this. I'm digging it a lot. Anyway, all right. Well, Pinky and I have not had a chance to get together so we can record more fun facts. So I do not have a Pinky's fun fact for you today. I did do a lemonade review at the convention. Those of you in the parishioners group got a little preview of that, but the rest of you will hear that on Tuesday in that show when I do my lemonade review. So there's a little tease there. Otherwise, I guess this is the point in the episode that I tell you that I am available on the socials. I'm available on Instagram at The Cigar Pulpit. I am on Facebook where we have the Pulpit Parishioners group. It's a private group. You can find that, request access, get in on that, share what you're smoking, make some friends. It's a good time. I'm on Twitter/X. And if you want to watch the show, you can do so on YouTube and Rumble. I also have a TikTok account where I've been posting the drive time reviews. There's a few of you that follow on TikTok. It's I don't know. I have it. It's what it is. I don't really know. I know I'm not maximizing it to its fullest potential. Let's put it that way. I don't know shit about TikTok, but whatever. But speaking of the drive time reviews, those come out every Wednesday at 7 a.m. and they are available on YouTube, Rumble, and TikTok. And then you can call the hotline. I need your calls for Ask the Pulpit. I have a couple, a very, very few, but I do need your calls for Ask the Pulpit. So you can call the hotline at area code 863-874-0000. That's 863-874-0000, or tofu pie with no E, 0000, and leave your comments, questions, concerns, criticisms, whatever you may have. And then finally, if you are not signed up for the Cigar Chronicle newsletter, head on over to cigarpulpit.com and a little pop-up box will come up. It'll bring up the thing. You can type in your email and you will get that. I have not put out one for April yet. I normally would have by now, but I opted to go ahead and wait to get through PCA. And admittedly, this week has been busy. I have not put it together. So I'm hoping this weekend that I can get that assembled to where maybe by Monday at the latest, I can get that sent out to everybody. And then also print editions will be starting to be printed and mailed out to lounges that are interested in them in May. So if you are a retailer and you want a stack of Cigar Chronicles for your shop, they are completely and totally free to you. They're completely and totally free to your consumer. It's just information. It's cigar information. It's goofy news. It's some games. It's cigar review, that kind of thing. The reaction at the show was very positive. The retailers that saw it were very excited about it. They all said like, "Oh, this is really cool." A lot of them said something that I think is important, which is it's something that maybe somebody can look at instead of their phone. Instead of sitting there just glued to their phone screen, they can look at this and they can read a little bit. Because here's the thing, and this is the dirty little secret, and this is something that the manufacturers told me they were excited about. Consumers, by and large, don't look at Half Wheel. Half Wheel is a site where I'm not saying that none of them do, but retailers and manufacturers look at Half Wheel. Consumers, by and large, don't. Cigar Aficionado, despite what they might be claiming, their numbers are down. And they're the top cigar magazine of the industry. So, when you start getting into the other publications, their numbers are going to be even less. And so it's one of those things where the average consumer relies entirely on their retailer to tell them about things in the industry. And if their retailer is maybe not on top of something, maybe doesn't see something, whatever it happens to be, then that never trickles down to the consumer. And so the Chronicle, I'm not saying it's a comprehensive end all be all, like, oh my God, it has everything from the industry for the entire month in it, but it's something. It's something that is available. It is something available and directed towards the consumer so that they can learn. It has a full list of all of the announced cigars that I can pull together for the month of all of the new and upcoming releases that are announced. So, they can see like all these different brands and all the different cigars that are listed in there. And they can look at that and be like, oh shit, I didn't know that JC Newman had a new size of the Brick House coming out, or blah, 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 whatever. They can look at that and they can see that, and they can then inquire with you, the retailer that I'm talking to right now, and say, hey, what are you doing with this? Are you going to be getting this? So it's it's all about conversation between a consumer and the retailer, consumer to consumer, just that kind of thing. So it's totally free. If you're interested in having it in your shop, you can reach out to me at Nick, N-I-C-K, at cigarpulpit.com. And you are, and all you got to do is just say, I want it, and give me your shop name and your mailing address, and you'll be added to the list. You'll just start getting it. Also, I had Dakota call in to the Ask the Pulpit episode recently, and he brought up the idea of getting him some copies so that he would be able to take them to his shops and promote it. I love that idea. I think it's wonderful. And to his credit, I never came up with it. Danny mentioned it this past weekend. We're going to call them the Cigar Pulpit Cigar Chronicle Missionaries. So you can go out and do your missionary work and spread the word about the Cigar Chronicle to your local lounge and ask them if they want to carry it. So be a missionary. And if you want to be a missionary, again, email me, nick@cigarpulpit.com. And I will make sure that you get a few copies that you can take around to your local retailer and show it to them and tell them, hey, you can get a stack of these completely and totally free to you and whatever. There is no cost to the lounge and to the consumer. This is 100% advertising driven. So, there's that. Anyway. All right, guys. This has been fun. I had a good time, and it was nice to recap this. I look forward to sitting with Shawn and Danny next week and getting their perspective on the show. This is Shawn's second year coming with me to the trade show, so he has a little bit of history that he can draw upon there to compare. But then it'll be interesting to get Danny's first time perspective on it. So it's good. It's good. I'm looking forward to talking with them about the show. So anyway, final thought on the Romeo and Julieta Reserva Real Nicaragua Profundo. I told you, I'm all in. It's a box buy for me. This cigar is wonderful, and I am thoroughly digging it. So if you like something that has some oomph, something that's got some good flavor, something that kicks off a ton of smoke, and something that I apparently let sit for too long to where I need to hit it with a little bit more fire to finish it out. I would say you need to give this a shot. It's a very, very good cigar. I'm digging it. So anyway, there's that. Guys, thank you so much for listening. I hope you got something out of this. And I will be back with you on Tuesday. This has been another sermon from the Cigar Pulpits. I'm Nick. Everybody, stay safe and stay smoky. Take it easy, everybody.